What if I told you that some of the most powerful tools for protecting your memory and keeping your brain sharp after 60 are not expensive medications? They're nutrients, specific vitamins and minerals that your brain depends on every single day just to function properly. Here's the problem. Most people over 60 are deficient in at least one, and often several, of these critical nutrients. Not because they're eating badly necessarily, but because after 60, the body absorbs certain vitamins much less efficiently than it did at 40. And the gap between what your brain needs and what it's actually getting quietly widens with every passing year. The result? Brain fog, slower thinking, more frequent memory lapses, lower mood, and reduced ability to concentrate. Symptoms that millions of people simply accept as part of getting older. But in many cases, they're not inevitable. They're the result of nutritional gaps that can be addressed. Today, I'm going to walk you through the essential vitamins your brain needs after 60, explain exactly what each one does, how to know if you might be deficient, and, most importantly, how to get each one naturally through food before ever considering a supplement. My name is Dr. Elena, and every week I bring you practical, science-backed information about cognitive health and memory for people over 60. If you're new here, welcome, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a new video. Before we dive in, I want to be very clear about something. This video is not about pushing supplements. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy 10 different bottles. In fact, my first recommendation is always to try to get these nutrients from real food, because that's where they're most bioavailable, meaning that's where your body can actually absorb and use them most effectively. Supplements have their place, and I'll mention them where relevant. But the foundation should always be a well-nourished diet. Now, why does this become so important after 60 specifically? There are 3 key reasons. First, the aging digestive system becomes less efficient at absorbing certain nutrients, particularly B vitamins and vitamin D, even when you're eating enough of them. Second, many older adults eat less overall, simply because appetite naturally decreases with age. Less food means less opportunity to meet nutritional needs. And third, certain medications that are very common in people over 60, such as antacids, blood pressure medications, and metformin for diabetes, can interfere with the absorption of key brain nutrients. This is something many doctors don't mention proactively, but it's important to know. The good news is that once you know which nutrients matter most and why, you can make targeted, simple changes to your diet that have a real and measurable impact on how your brain performs. Vitamin 1, vitamin B12, the memory vitamin most seniors are missing. If there is one vitamin that is most consistently associated with memory problems in people over 60, it is vitamin B12. B12 plays a central role in maintaining the protective coating around your nerve cells, called the myelin sheath. Think of it like the plastic insulation around an electrical wire. When that insulation is intact, signals travel fast and clearly. When it starts to break down due to B12 deficiency, signals slow down, get confused, and some don't make it through at all. The result is slower thinking, memory lapses, and in severe cases, symptoms that can look like early dementia, but are actually fully reversible when B12 levels are restored. Studies suggest that up to 30% of adults over 65 have some degree of B12 deficiency. This is largely because the ability to absorb B12 from food depends on a substance in the stomach called intrinsic factor, and the production of intrinsic factor declines significantly with age. The best food sources of B12 are animal products: beef, liver, salmon, sardines, eggs, and dairy. If you follow a plant-based diet, B12 supplementation is not optional. It's essential, because this vitamin is virtually absent from plant foods. If you're concerned about your B12 levels, ask your doctor for a simple blood test. It's one of the most straightforward deficiencies to identify and treat. Vitamin 2. Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin your brain desperately needs. Vitamin D is best known for its role in bone health, but researchers have discovered in recent decades that its impact on the brain is just as significant, and possibly more urgent for older adults. Your brain has vitamin D receptors in nearly every region involved in memory, mood, and cognitive function. When vitamin D levels are low, those receptors go understimulated, and the result shows up as brain fog, low mood, difficulty concentrating, and an increased risk of cognitive decline over time. Large-scale studies have found that adults over 65 with low vitamin D levels have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia compared to those with healthy levels. One major analysis involving over 12,000 participants found that severe vitamin D deficiency was associated with more than double the risk of dementia. Here's the issue. Most people over 60 are deficient, even in sunny climates. The skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight decreases by roughly 70% between the ages of 20 and 70. And very few foods contain meaningful amounts of vitamin D naturally. The main sources are fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, egg yolks, and fortified foods like certain cereals and dairy products. Getting 15 to 20 minutes of midday sun exposure on your arms and face without sunscreen several times a week is one of the best natural ways to support your levels. But for most people over 60, a vitamin D supplement is also worth discussing with a doctor. Vitamin 3. Omega-3 fatty acids, the building blocks of every brain cell you have. Strictly speaking, omega-3s are not vitamins. They're essential fatty acids, but they are so critical to brain health after 60 that no conversation about brain nutrition would be complete without them. About 60% of your brain is made of fat, and a large portion of that fat is a specific omega-3 fatty acid called DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. DHA is literally the structural material from which your brain cells are built. It keeps cell membranes flexible, which is essential for fast, efficient communication between neurons. When DHA levels drop, cell membranes become stiffer, neurons communicate more slowly, and cognitive performance declines. Research has consistently shown that people with higher omega-3 levels have larger brain volumes, better memory scores, and lower rates of age-related cognitive decline. One long-term study found that people who ate fish twice a week or more had significantly less brain shrinkage over time compared to those who rarely ate fish. The best food sources are fatty fish: salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, and trout. Aim for at least 2 servings per week. If you don't eat fish regularly, plant sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts provide a precursor form of omega-3, though the conversion rate to DHA in the body is limited. A high-quality fish oil supplement is worth considering if fish is not a regular part of your diet. Vitamin 4, folate, vitamin B9, the brain protector hiding in your vegetables. Folate, also known as vitamin B9, is one of those nutrients that doesn't get nearly enough attention in conversations about brain health, and yet the evidence for its role in protecting memory and cognitive function is very strong. Folate works closely with vitamin B12 to control levels of a compound in the blood called homocysteine. Homocysteine is a natural byproduct of metabolism, but when it builds up in excess, it becomes directly toxic to brain cells and is strongly associated with accelerated brain aging, memory loss, and an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Think of folate and B12 as a cleanup team. Together, they convert homocysteine into harmless compounds and prevent it from accumulating to dangerous levels. When either one is deficient, homocysteine builds up, and the brain pays the price. Studies have shown that people with higher folate intake consistently perform better on memory tests and have lower rates of cognitive decline as they age. One major clinical trial found that supplementing with folate and B vitamins in older adults with elevated homocysteine levels significantly slowed brain shrinkage over 2 years compared to placebo. The best food sources of folate are dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, romaine lettuce, arugula, as well as legumes like lentils and chickpeas, broccoli, asparagus, and avocado. Aim to include at least 1 dark green vegetable in your diet every single day. It's one of the highest return nutritional habits you can build for your brain. Vitamin 5, vitamin E, the antioxidant shield your aging brain needs most. As the brain ages, it becomes increasingly vulnerable to a process called oxidative stress, essentially damage caused by unstable molecules called free radicals that accumulate in brain tissue over time. This damage contributes to the decline of neurons and is one of the underlying mechanisms behind age-related memory loss and neurodegenerative diseases. Vitamin E is one of the most powerful antioxidants the brain has access to. It works by neutralizing free radicals before they can damage brain cells, helping to preserve cognitive function and slow the effects of brain aging. Research has found that people with higher vitamin E intake over their lifetime tend to have better cognitive function in their later years and a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. Importantly, studies suggest that vitamin E is most effective when obtained from food rather than supplements, partly because food sources provide the full complex of vitamin E compounds, not just the isolated form found in most supplements. The best food sources are nuts and seeds, particularly almonds, sunflower seeds, and hazelnuts, as well as avocado, olive oil, spinach, and broccoli. A small handful of mixed nuts every day is one of the simplest and most effective nutritional habits you can adopt for long-term brain protection. One word of caution: high-dose vitamin E supplements have shown mixed results in research and are not recommended without medical guidance. Food sources, however, are consistently associated with benefit and carry no risk of excess. Vitamin 6, magnesium, the overlooked mineral that quietly controls your memory. Magnesium is not a vitamin, it's a mineral, but it belongs on this list because it is one of the most consistently underconsumed nutrients among older adults, and its role in cognitive function is both significant and frequently overlooked. Your brain uses magnesium to regulate hundreds of biochemical reactions, including the ones responsible for forming and consolidating memories. Magnesium controls the activity of a key receptor in the brain called the NMDA receptor, which is directly involved in synaptic plasticity, the brain's ability to strengthen connections between neurons when you learn something new or form a new memory. When magnesium is low, NMDA receptors become overactive, which leads to a state of neural hyperexcitability. Essentially, the brain becomes noisy and inefficient. This manifests as difficulty concentrating, poor sleep, increased anxiety, and impaired memory consolidation. Studies have found that people with higher magnesium levels have significantly larger and better preserved brain volumes as they age, particularly in the hippocampus, the brain's primary memory center. The best food sources of magnesium are dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, yes, you heard that right, almonds, avocado, black beans, and whole grains. Many people find that increasing magnesium-rich foods also improves their sleep quality, which, as we discussed in a previous video, is itself one of the most powerful protectors of memory you have. Now, I know that sounds like a long list, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So let me give you a practical starting point. If you could make just 3 changes today, make these. First, add a serving of fatty fish to your diet at least twice a week: salmon, sardines, or mackerel. This alone addresses your omega-3, vitamin D, and B12 needs all at once. 3 birds, 1 stone. Second, eat a handful of mixed nuts every day. Almonds, walnuts, and sunflower seeds are ideal. This covers vitamin E and magnesium and takes about 10 seconds to add to your morning routine. Third, include a dark leafy green, spinach, kale, or romaine, in at least 1 meal a day. A simple salad, a handful added to soup, or sautéed as a side dish. This covers your folate needs and contributes additional magnesium as well. These 3 habits, fish twice a week, a handful of nuts daily, and 1 serving of dark greens every day, address most of the nutrients we've discussed today. They're not expensive, they're not complicated, and the cumulative impact on your brain over months and years is genuinely significant. And please, before starting any supplement regimen, speak with your doctor. A simple blood panel can tell you precisely where your levels stand, which makes any supplementation far more targeted and effective. Let's recap what you learned today. Vitamin B12 maintains the protective coating around your nerve cells and is essential for clear, fast thinking, and up to 30% of adults over 65 are deficient. Vitamin D activates brain receptors throughout your memory and mood centers, and most older adults don't get nearly enough, even in sunny climates. Omega-3 fatty acids are the literal building blocks of your brain cells, and 2 servings of fatty fish per week is one of the highest impact dietary habits you can adopt. Folate works with B12 to clear homocysteine, a compound that is directly toxic to brain cells when it accumulates. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant shield, protecting neurons from the oxidative damage that accelerates brain aging. And magnesium quietly controls hundreds of brain functions, including the very process by which memories are formed and stored. None of these nutrients require extreme dietary changes. Small, consistent additions to what you're already eating can make a meaningful difference in how your brain performs, not just today, but for years to come. If this video helped you understand how nutrition connects to brain health, please share it with someone you care about, a spouse, a friend, or a family member who's been noticing memory changes. This kind of information can make a real difference when it reaches the right person. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every week I bring you a new topic on cognitive health, memory, and well-being, all designed specifically for people over 60, and always based on science, not hype. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 6 nutrients surprised you the most? And which one do you think you might be falling short on? Your answers help me understand what's most useful for this community, and I read every single comment. Take care of what you feed your brain, and your brain will take care of you. See you in the next video.